Hello everyone, Sire here. Thank you so much for joining me for my submission for Crafter Roulette, and I believe this is 130. It is a tad late, just took me a while to create the card and the video, but not too late that it cannot still be enjoyed. So, what I have here is a sheet of cardstock that is your typical 11 by 8.5, and I did cut it down on the 5.5 line so that my card is measuring 11 by 5.5. I'm then going to score this because we do need to make it a fancy fold, and I'm going to score that right on the quarter line. The next is 3 3/4, and then I'm going to flip it around and go 3 3/4 again because my card is not long enough. If you want the other way around, it'd be 7 1/4 score line. And then I'm going to score that at 5 1/8 just until the last score line because I'm going to trim this off and it's going to create this stacked fold type card. So you do not want to cut the largest rectangle at the end. So to keep remembering, you just start at the score at the 5 1/8 line. And then I'm going to fold this. I'm going to do it wrong the first time because it's just boggles my mind trying to figure this out until I'm halfway through. At that point, I realize you just want to make sure that your folding is so that the part that's cut is at the top. Otherwise, the card won't stand. I'm then going to take this piece of scrap that I had cut off earlier from the main piece of paper, and I'm going to trim that down to, I believe it's 3 by 4 1/4. I was going to trim it down a little bit smaller, but I liked the size of this one. It works better because I have some cutaways or cut aparts in my pattern paper that I'm going to be using. Next, I'm just going to measure this freely and just trim off the top because I don't want any excess. I want it so that it's flush with this piece that I just cut off. I'm just going to trim that up and clean it off so that it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to glue that down and just hold it there for a little bit because the ledge is pretty skinny. So you don't want to, it will pop off a little bit because of all that bulk. And there we go. There's my fancy fold. Off camera, I did cut all this paper. I can't remember what the pattern is. It was from one of the Spellbinders kits from a couple years ago. And I just really liked it. It had the perfect transmuted colors for fall with the pinks and blues. And so I inked every single piece off camera. And I'm just going to glue them down now. And so what I'm using for my things that start with D is the dots. I didn't tell you what the parameters are. So I'll do that while I'm gluing these things down. The parameters were it needed to be a fancy fold card. It had to use transmuted colors, something that started with a D, and pendants. I'll put that in the description below if I remember. Normally I show a little post-it note so that's on the corner, but I was in a rush trying to get this done, and I got the card done with probably about 20 minutes left of the deadline. I was doing this piece by piece just because it was I was running out of time for the day, just getting really busy. Because I didn't have an extra piece of the polka dot paper, I'm going to be using a cutaway to kind of hide the line. You won't really see it unless you're really paying attention. But this is a scrap piece. It just wasn't skinny enough, or wide enough, sorry. So I had to cut it the opposite direction and then piecemeal it back together. I am also going to ink them all so that you get that consistent color. You can't really see it on that cutaway really because the cutaway is already pretty dark. And then I'll just glue that down. But for me, I could not stop myself from seeing the cut line just on the gutters there. So I did come in with a brown Love from Lizzie's peel-off sticker that I just put behind it. I don't know. I mean, it would have been better if I used these things throughout the card. But it is what it is. It's kind of like trading it off with a not very noticeable cut line with something that's very noticeably. So, it's Oh, I can't think of the expression right now. But yeah, it's. I don't know if it was actually any better. But either way, I was happy to find a Love from Lizzie peel-off that was the same, similar color. Now this white piece is just for when someone receives it, you can write a nice little message on that. So I just put a little white piece there. And I'm just going to test that out and see what it looks like. And of course it's falling apart, so can't really do that. So let's glue those pieces down. I'm just going to, I got my front piece there. So I have some squirrels. And it says, thankful for you. So it's a nice fall themed card. And then I'm going to put my polka dot. I really like these blue polka dots. That color is just really nice, and it matches so well with the pinks that are in this this collection as well. And I will just glue this down with my second sentiment, which says grateful, thankful, and blessed. And it's nice that the brown doesn't take away from anything. It's not really adding a new color. It's kind of just being a darker shade of the browns that are kind of being used throughout, like the squirrel and then these acorns on the flowers, or on the foliage. I am going to ink those down. These are actually some pieces left over from another piece of pattern paper, and I just trimmed them out, fussy cut all the corner out, and because it was on the sides of the card, I decided just to do the same thing, but on two different panels. Not the same sheet. Now it's time to work on my panel. This is a little fussy because I'm trying to rush it. This is about 40 minutes before the deadline, so I just got home and I'm trying to quickly get this done so that I do not miss the deadline. Because I already put all this work into the card so far, I didn't want to to not be able to submit. So what I'm doing is I don't have any twine, at least I didn't have time to find it, so this is just some thread, kind of used for embroidery thread, there we go. And I'm just going to glue this down, kind of going across the whole card, but also making sure that I can actually close it and open it without it pulling the thread. This will pop up and I'll have to re-glue it a couple times just because I'm not letting it dry. I'm really rushing this, and so that's why this is happening. But before I had actually got to this point, I had pre-cut all my little pendants, or the sheets. I just had to cut the triangles in them, and now I got little pendants. These are just the leftover scraps of one of the sheets that was in the pad, the pattern paper pad. And then I'm just going to glue those shut. So what it is it's longer, but I folded it because I wanted to go around the thread. And then now I'm just closing it shut. And then once I'm done that, I'll move them in the spot that I kind of want them, because they still can move a little bit because it's not glued really right to the thread. And then I will just glue them down right to the cardstock. I did ideally want them to hang, but that doesn't work well with thread. It would have probably been better if it was with baker's twine. The thread, it's just too all over the place, and I needed control in this case. So I just quickly got my glue and just glued these little banners or pennants down in where they fit best. And then that's pretty much it, I think, for this card. I don't think there's much more to that. Oh, yeah. I make it a little fancy at the end. I wanted to, you'll see, I did want to create a little bow on both sides, but the one side was kind of short, so there's no way I would have done that. So what I decided to do was just curl the threads around. Of course, once again, I did rush it, so I'm not even sure if they're still glued down. They seem to be. Yeah, not too bad. Just a little bit messy, but that's okay. And then this one I'm just going to twirl around on the other side. But I'm going to do it like an S. So just to make it a little different from the others. Now, if I want to, I can always add some more to this if I wanted, like adding bling or nothing bulky because it's supposed to be a flat card. But like if I wanted to add some sparkle or anything flat, I could do that afterwards. But I think I'm pretty good with how this card looks. And there we go. So that is my contribution for Craft Roulette 130. Definitely check them out. It's at craftroulette.live. They do this every week on Fridays. It's a lot of fun. I really, really, really highly recommend it if you want a challenge, you want to meet new people. There's just so much happening. It may seem overwhelming at first because it seems like every week there's new terminologies being created and fun stories, and but it is a lot of fun, and you get an opportunity to use up the products you have. And not only that, if you feel like you're in a slump and you can't think of anything, there's a whole gallery of what people have done, and you can be inspired by the bucket loads. It's great fun. Of course, they do have a YouTube channel as well, which is on every Friday. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has created some inspiration for you. Maybe get some of that pattern paper out and create some beautiful fall autumn cards. It is coming. Thanksgiving in Canada is very soon, and I think people would love to hear from you and receive just the most beautiful card that comes from your own hands and heart. So until the next time, have a great, beautiful weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.